The name Genghis Khan is known the world over. Half of the world was occupied by his Mongol army. His empire was the largest contiguous empire ever, covering an astonishing 23 million square kilometers, 9 million mi-2, between the Caspian Sea and the Pacific Ocean. In his 25 years of pillaging, Genghis Khan was able to capture more land than the entire Roman Empire did in 400 years. Certainly, his army was ferocious. Troopers of the crushed militaries were not bound for a blissful end. They were frequently dissected, beheaded, or even made to swallow molten metal. Entire urban communities were leveled, and detainees were killed or made to walk before the military to go about as a safeguard. Despite the fact that his name is now associated with barbarism, Genghis Khan was a surprising leader. 10. He was modest. Genghis Khan was a modest individual. He did not erect memorials to his accomplishments. He wanted to remain humble even in death. Similar to what the Egyptian pharaohs did, other men in his position may have constructed elaborate memorials for themselves. Genghis, in any case, proclaimed that he ought to be covered in a mystery place in a plain grave. His devoted army carried out his final wishes. They carried his body home, killing anyone they encountered along the way to prevent them from revealing the location. Genghis' men dug the grave someplace in the far-off heaps of Mongolia or maybe in the wide fields, contingent upon whom you accept. Then they rode 1,000 ponies again and again the grave to pack down the earth and mask the area. Slaves who dug the grave are said to have been killed after Genghis's burial, and his soldiers planted a grove of trees over the site. To prevent them from revealing the location of Genghis's remains when the army returned home, their fellow soldiers killed them. Archaeologists and treasure hunters continue to search for the grave in the hope of discovering the great Mongol leader's final resting place and, possibly, the rumored treasure trove. 9. He instituted a writing system in Mongolia. The Mongolian writing system known as Uyghur script was established by Genghis Khan in 1204, and it has remained in use ever since. The Uyghur tribes, who had been conquered by the Mongol army, were the source of the script. In this, Genghis demonstrated one of his greatest strengths and demonstrated great foresight. When he conquered another tribe, especially if their systems were superior to his own, he adopted their practices and customs into his own. He demonstrated much more wisdom in this way than the majority of conquering nations, which simply eradicated the previous culture without giving it any thought. Genghis Khan connected incredible significance to the capacity to peruse and compose. He directed that the Mongol Empire's laws be recorded in writing and that all children be taught to read. But it's likely that Khan didn't know how to read, so he gave this responsibility to his trusted commanders. 8. He ran the Mongol Empire as a meritocracy. Genghis Khan controlled a diverse number of tribes and conquered peoples. Most vanquishing countries have found maintaining everything under control among the native populaces troublesome, and much military labor supply is spent subduing agitation and forcing the new request. Genghis picked an alternate strategy. He ran the Mongol domain as a severe meritocracy. A leader cannot be happy if his people are not happy, he is quoted as saying. Positions were filled solely based on the candidate's abilities. Advancements in the militaries depended on capacities and provable outcomes. He adopted the same procedures even within his own family. On his deathbed, he requested that his councils choose his replacements, as a matter of fact from his own family, dependent just upon their capacity to succeed. 7. He rebuilt the Silk Road. The trade route that connected Europe's lucrative markets via China, India, and Southeast Asia is known as the Silk Road. Because it was so dangerous, it had been abandoned. Brigands had a safe haven in the vast expanses that traders had to navigate. The entire Silk Road trade route, over 7,000 kilometers or 4,300 miles, came under Genghis Khan's control. The period after his victory of the area became known as Pax Mongolica, a time of quiet and solidness which empowered brokers to pass unhindered along the course. Silk, pearls, gems, spices, precious metals, carpets, and medicines were all transported by trade caravans. What's more, the neighborhood economies flourished by giving rewards to the explorers. The Mongol government organized this. It was once said that a maiden laden with gold could travel it and go unmolested because the Silk Road became so safe. 6. He developed a strict code of law. The common perception of the Mongol horde is that it is a loose band of ruffians who rob and rape at will. As a matter of fact, the Mongol society was for the most part an extremely requested and well-behaved one when it wasn't out winning. Genghis had a yasak, or code of regulation, drawn up which itemized the way of behaving expected of residents and the discipline for those disrupted the norms. These regulations were expected to be followed by all Mongol citizens, including Genghis himself. Remarkably, for the time span, Genghis guaranteed no heavenly expert for these regulations except for just the power of his power. Kidnapping, animal rustling, stealing, and, perhaps surprisingly, slavery, though only for fellow Mongols, were among the prohibited practices. The minimum age to join the army was also increased to 20 years old by other decrees. In addition, no one was to be considered guilty of a crime unless he was caught doing it or confessed on his own. On his deathbed, Genghis Khan is accepted to have said of his adherents, "In the event that they withdraw from my yasak, the domain will shake and disintegrate." Because his empire fell apart in just 150 years and there are no more copies of the yasak, this may have been a kind of prophecy. 5. He looked after his army. It was said that Genghis Khan was particularly concerned about the well-being of his troops. He was said to have stated, "I want to feed them with juicy meat, let them live in beautiful yurts, and let them pasture their livestock on rich soil." Regarding them, the commander was punished if a soldier was lost as a result of his commander's neglect. Additionally, the commander would be executed immediately if a wounded soldier remained on the battlefield. All of this prompted army officers to go to great lengths to ensure the welfare of their subordinates. They were able to conquer the entire world because the army relied on a system of mutual loyalty. Troopers in the Mongol armed force were not paid. Instead, they shared equally in the war's spoils. This made sure that every soldier had a stake in the victory. When a soldier died in battle, his family received a share of the spoils to provide for them. 4. He supported women's rights. Genghis Khan was a notable advocate for women's rights at the time. For the duration, Mongolian women definitely had more freedom than their neighbors in China and Persia. They were able to ride horses, fight in battle, take care of farms, and get involved in the politics of the time. However, most ladies actually had less privileges than men. A few ladies employed extraordinary impact in the Mongol realm. Women held important positions in the empire's management and held public office. The abducting of spouses was explicitly restricted by regulation. Genghis Khan's better half had been hijacked, just like the act of selling ladies into marriage despite their desire to the contrary. Even though calling Khan a feminist would be quite a stretch, it is certain that women had more rights and were safer under the Mongol Empire than anywhere else in the world at the time. 3. He promoted religious freedom. Genghis Khan was a shamanist, as were most Mongols around then. Nevertheless, he advocated religious tolerance throughout his empire. He encouraged citizens to freely practice their chosen religion and exempted religious leaders from paying taxes. He was interested in hearing the beliefs of religious leaders and invited them to meet with him for interfaith discussions. He purposefully chose advisors from a wide range of religious traditions. Because of the size of his empire, many different religions were represented there, including Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Jews, and Christians. The Mongol government did not interfere with any of their religious practices. 2. He sorted the post. The development of a well-organized postal system throughout Genghis Khan's empire may have been one of his more surprising feats. Postal stations were set up to deliver official mail, but citizens, soldiers, and visitors could also use them. The postal frameworks supported the economy, worked with the vehicle of products along the Silk Street, and worked on the quality and dependability of data sharing. The distance between postal stations was around 24 kilometers, 15 miles. When they arrived, couriers were given food and shelter as they moved between stations. Unfamiliar spectators, like Marco Polo, wondered about the effectiveness of the framework. Toward the finish of Mongol rule, there were great many postal stations with a huge number of ponies and dispatches available to them. 1. He was a lover as well as a fighter. Despite his military prowess and undeniable strength as an empire builder, Genghis Khan's legacy is one of love rather than combat. Additionally, DNA researchers' most recent findings suggest that Genghis had a significant other. In Central Asia alone, it is estimated that the Mongol emperor's descendants number 16 million men. Genghis Khan was known to have had many spouses and to have pursued a lot more ladies. After the Mongol crowd had taken a town, Genghis was given his pick of the most lovely ladies, and it appears to be that he made the most of this advantage of the gig. Both of his grandchildren and sons were equally fertile. One of his grandsons had 22 real wives and kept adding 30 virgins to his harem every year. However, the actual Mongol realm has since a long time ago vanished. It appears to be that Genghis Khan might have tracked down an alternate method for assuming control over the world. If you love this video, please subscribe to the channel to receive the earliest notification of the next videos. Click the like and share button to spread this video to everyone. And please take a look at the video description to support us. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video.